Homer opens with an invocation, or prayer asking the muse to help him sing his tale. Notice how the singer gives his listeners hints about how his story is to end. Sing in me, muse, and through me tell the story of that man skilled in all ways of contending, the wanderer, harried for years on end after he plundered the stronghold on the proud height of Troy. He saw the townlands and learned the minds of many distant men, and weathered many bitter nights and days in his deep heart at sea, while he fought only to save his life, to bring his shipmates home. But not by will nor valor could he save them, for their own recklessness destroyed them all. Children and fools, they killed and feasted on the cattle of Lord Helios, the sun, and he who moves all day through heaven took from their eyes the dawn of their return. Of these adventures, Muse, daughter of Zeus, tell us in our time, lift the great song again. Begin when all the rest who left behind them headlong death in battle or at sea had long ago returned, while he alone still hungered for home and wife. Her ladyship Calypso clung to him in her sea-hollowed caves, a nymph, immortal and most beautiful, who craved him for her own. And when long years and seasons wheeling about brought around that point of time, ordained for him to make his passage homeward trials and dangers, even so attended him even in Ithaca, near those he loved. Yet all the gods had pitied Lord Odysseus, but Poseidon, raging cold and rough against the brave king till he came ashore at last on his own land. Part 1. The Wanderings. Calypso, the sweet nymph. The first books of the epic, books 1 through 4, tell about Odysseus' son Telemachus. Telemachus has been searching the Mediterranean world for his father, who has never returned from the 10-year Trojan War. Today, Odysseus would be listed as missing in action. When we first meet Odysseus in Book 5 of the epic, he is a prisoner of the beautiful goddess Calypso. The old soldier is in despair. He has spent 10 years, 7 of them as Calypso's not entirely unwilling captive, trying to get home. The goddess Athena has supported and helped Odysseus on his long journey. Now she begs her father Zeus to help her favorite, and Zeus agrees. He sends the messenger god Hermes to Calypso's island to order Odysseus released. It is important to remember that although Calypso is not described as evil, her seductive charms, even her promises of immortality for Odysseus, threaten to keep the hero away from his wife Penelope. No words were lost on Hermes the Wayfinder, who bent to tie his beautiful sandals on, ambrosial, golden, that carry him over the water or over endless land in a swish of the wind, and took the wand with which he charms asleep, or when he wills, awake, the eyes of men. So wand in hand he paced into the air, shot from Pieria down to the sea level, and veered to skim the swell. A gull patrolling between the wave crests of the desolate sea will dip to catch a fish and douse his wings. No higher above the whitecaps Hermes flew, until the distant island lay ahead. Then rising shoreward from the violet ocean, he stepped up to the cave. Divine Calypso, the mistress of the isle, was now at home. Upon her hearthstone a great fire blazing scented the farthest shores with cedar smoke, the smoke of time, and singing high and low in her sweet voice. Before her loom, a-weaving, she passed her golden shuttle to and fro. A deep wood grew outside, with summer leaves of alder and black poplar, pungent cypress. Ornate birds here rested upon their stretched wings. Horned owls, falcons, cormorants, long-tongued beachcombing birds, and followers of the sea. Around the smooth-walled cave, a crooking vine held purple clusters under a ply of green, and 4 springs bubbling up near one another, shallow and clear, took channels here and there through beds of violets and tender parsley. Even a god who found this place would gaze and feel his heart beat with delight. So Hermes did. But when he gazed his fill, he entered the wide cave. Now face to face, the magical Calypso recognized him, as all immortal gods know one another on sight, though seeming strangers far from home. But he saw nothing of the great Odysseus, who sat apart, as 1,000 times before, and wrecked his own heart, groaning with eyes wet, scanning the bare horizon of the sea. Hermes now tells Calypso that she must give up Odysseus forever. Now we are directly introduced to Odysseus. Notice what this great warrior is doing when we first meet him. The strong god Glittering left her as he spoke, and now her ladyship, having given heed to Zeus's mandate, went to find Odysseus in his stone seat to seaward, tear on tear brimming his eyes. The sweet days of his lifetime were running out in anguish over his exile, for long ago the nymph had ceased to please. Though he fought shy of her and her desire, he lay with her each night, for she compelled him. But when day came, he sat on the rocky shore and broke his own heart groaning, with eyes wet, scanning the bare horizon of the sea. Now she stood near him in her beauty, saying, "O forlorn man, be still. Here you need grieve no more. You need not feel your life consumed here. I have pondered it, and I shall help you go." Calypso promises Odysseus a raft and provisions to help him homeward without harm, provided the gods wish it. Now Odysseus and Calypso say goodbye. Swiftly she turned and led him to her cave, and they went in, the mortal and immortal. He took the chair left empty now by Hermes, where the divine Calypso placed before him victuals and drink of men. Then she sat down facing Odysseus, while her serving maids brought nectar and ambrosia to her side. Then each one's hands went out on each one's feast, until they had their pleasure. And she said, "Son of Laertes, versatile Odysseus, after these years with me you still desire your old home? Even so I wish you well. If you could see it all before you go, all the adversity you face at sea, you would stay here and guard this house and be immortal, though you wanted her forever, that bride for whom you pine each day. Can I be less desirable than she is, less interesting, less beautiful? Can mortals compare with goddesses in grace and form?" To this the strategist Odysseus answered, "My lady goddess, there is no cause for anger. My quiet Penelope, how well I know, would seem a shade before your majesty, death and old age being unknown to you, while she must die. Yet it is true each day I long for home, long for the sight of home." So Odysseus builds the raft and sets sail, but the sea god Poseidon is by no means ready to allow an easy passage over his watery domain. He raises a storm and destroys the raft. It is only with the help of Athena and a sea nymph that Odysseus arrives, broken and battered, on the island of Scheria. There he hides himself in a pile of leaves and falls into a deep sleep. A man in a distant field, no hearth fires near, will hide a fresh brand in his bed of embers to keep the spark alive for the next day. So in the leaves Odysseus hid himself, while over him Athena showered sleep, that his distress should end. And soon, in a quiet sleep, she sealed his cherished eyes.